Is Peter Obi a weak leader? Really? Honest answers now. Is Peter Obi a weak leader? Because ever since Kenneth Okonkwo parted ways, or at least so it seems on TV, with Peter Obi, with the excuse that Peter Obi was weak, Peter Obi did not do what MKO Abiola did, declare himself president, even though MKO Abiola did that and is no longer with us. He claims that Peter Obi is weak and that Peter Obi could not or cannot defend the votes that the people give to him. And because of that, he was parting ways, or he's no longer going to be spokesperson for Peter Obi. Ever since that happened, many people have jumped on that narrative to push it. That Peter Obi is a weak leader, Peter Obi is weak, he cannot be president of Nigeria, Nigeria needs a tough leader, Nigeria needs a tough leader. And so I say, is Peter Obi really weak? And I'll say it again, honest answers only. Is it weakness for a leader to see billions of naira and decide not to steal it and decide to leave it behind? Is that weakness? Is it weakness to refuse the nudging, the request of your State House of Assembly members to spend public funds lavishly, but then you refuse? Is that weakness? Is it weakness to refuse to bloat government contracts and reduce everything, reduce cost of governance? Is it weakness? Since when is it weakness that you allow rule of law? You don't force your opinion on others. How is this weakness? Because these are all the things that people point to and they say Peter Obi is weak. Is it weakness to say, oh, I will not call for violent protest? I will not let innocent lives be lost because of my ambition? He has said he's not desperate to be president of Nigeria, but he's desperate to see a Nigeria that works. Is it weakness? Because from what Kenneth Okonkwo has said and what people are now hiding and queuing behind to push this narrative that Peter Obi is a weak leader, is that Peter Obi did not defend or declare himself president after the rigging that went on in the 2023 presidential election. So, is it weakness? We need to be careful so we don't give a dog a bad name just because we want to hang it. We need to be careful about our actions because we don't want a situation whereby all the good people that have intentions to fix Nigeria, that have patriotic mind, that have the passion, that have the credibility, we need to be careful not to call a dog a bad name because we want to hang it. And then in the end, we're chasing good people away from the arena of leadership in Nigeria. We need to be careful about that. When we're talking about weakness of leaders, shouldn't we measure it by whether or not the leader is able to resist external forces, to resist the request of external forces, to resist the demands of the enemies of Nigeria? Should that not be how we measure the weakness or the strength of a leader? And in that regard, who should we be calling weak? Should it be Tinubu? Should it be Buhari? Or should it be Peter Obi? Who is weak? Is it a Tinubu that on the first day, right from day one, served Nigeria on a platter of gold to the IMF and the World Bank, despite knowing that it is not in the best interest of the citizens of Nigeria? Despite knowing that only a minute percentage, very minute, less than 1% of Nigerians will benefit from the wealth of Nigerians at the detriment of the majority 99%. Despite knowing this, he still went ahead to serve Nigeria on a platter of gold to the IMF and the World Bank. Just because possibly the IMF and the World Bank has one or two things against him, and so he lacked the courage to say no to them. We were here when President Obasanjo said that never say no to the World Bank or else they will drag your face on the ground, but never you do their bidding. So Who is weak? Is it not a leader that can stand up and say no to these external forces that are pushing agendas, pushing policies that we know are detrimental to our own interests? But yet, our leaders are not man enough or strong enough to say no to them. Is this not the kind of leaders? Is this not how we measure who is a weak leader or who is a strong leader? So in this light now, who should be the weak leader? Really? You tell me. Because when we push public narratives like this, oh, Peter Obi is weak, we should be careful. We need leaders who can say no to the demands, to the pool of corrupt persons in politics, to their pool, to their request to spend public funds for private gains. Is it weakness that a Peter Obi was able to say, no, I will not buy another SUV when the people are suffering? When we have such a leader as Tinubu, who despite the hardship that is going on in the country, is able to spend 1 billion naira to buy one car. And since May 29, it's all manner of cars that have been bought for the president. All manner of cars. Over 6 or 7 different cars, from BMW to Range Rover to Land Cruiser to Mercedes, just name it. And then you have the latest one, the Escalade. A leader who cannot say, I already have money. Oh, there's already a car. The people are suffering. Let me say no to spending government or public funds lavishly while the people are suffering. Should that not be the weak leader? When you look at this, who should be the weak leader now? Is it a Tinubu or a Peter Obi? Is Peter Obi really weak? We need to answer genuinely, because right now, the hardship that is in the land is for the majority of us to bear. So if you answer falsely, we all bear the brunt. You answer honestly, we all gain and reap the reward. It is crucial at this time for us to answer this question honestly. Is Peter Obi a weak leader? Your answer is as good as mine. Whatever your answer is, one thing is certain. We need leaders who will put Nigeria first. We need leaders who will cut down on the cost of governance. We need leaders who will create jobs. We need leaders who will be able to say no to the interests of the IMF and the World Bank. Leaders who will say, this fuel subsidy you're talking about is corruption. There is no subsidy in the first place, so there's nothing to remove. What you are asking me, oh, Mr. IMF and Mr. World Bank, is for me to increase the cost of living for my people, and that will increase their suffering. And so I cannot say yes to it. Is that not the kind of leader we want? In fact, when you consider it, you would even say that a Buhari was even a stronger leader than a Tinubu, because a Buhari was able to say no to the IMF and World Bank for 8 years. In fact, if I recall that interview he had with Al Jazeera, when they kept pressing him, oh, why don't you remove fuel subsidy? He said, my people are poor. We are not producing anything. This is Buhari that does not have the first-class brain of a Tinubu, as he is acclaimed to be. But he knew that removing fuel subsidy was a lie, because he said it was a fraud. But what they were actually trying to do was get him to increase the pump price of petrol, to get him to devalue the naira, to get him to privatize. All these are things that the IMF has been pushing Nigerian leaders to do, even though they know that it will make life difficult for Nigerians. And Buhari refused it. And from day one, Tinubu accepted it. Who is the weak one? Tinubu or Peter Obi? Please, 2027 is around the corner. We need to change. We need a change of guards. We need to do it with smarts. We need to come together and organize. And the only way we can do that is not through any of the current political parties. I make bold to say it. There is no political party right now in Nigeria that can say you can run without paying a dime for nomination form. We need to form that kind of party. And that is what the Abundance Party is for. So look in the description and join us. Let us create it together. A party of the people, by the people, and for the people. A party where nobody can run for any elective position in the party unless that leader or unless that person has been a member for at least 12 months. And no charge will be paid for nomination form. None at all. And our mode of primaries will be direct primaries. Access to every list of members. No separate or special delegates who will now form the core of money politics in the internal affairs of our political party. And of course, there are ideologies that every of the members of these our new political parties must now subscribe to. I did a separate video for this. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Please go through it, see which of the ideologies you agree with. Once you feel we need to change, let us know. We need to work together to change these things. Time is going. Don't let them continue to distract us with their distractions. We need to kick them out. And the time to start doing that work is now. Another thing we need to do is we need to start. We all agree. Think about it. We all agree that 2027, before the elections come around, we need to have electoral reforms. We need to have it entrenched in the Electoral Act, which means we'll have to amend the Electoral Act to contain the condition that it is compulsory for INEC to transmit election results electronically from the polling units. It has to be in the Electoral Act. And this can be done within 2 or 3 days, the way the National Assembly has done with the new national anthem and other things that they have passed so rapidly and so quickly. But who is pushing it? We all agree. And then after we make the suggestions, everybody goes and sits back. We need to begin to call on our elected representatives, senators, House of Rep members. They need to make that change now. The speed with which they passed the new National Anthem Act, they should follow that speed to do the same. With this, we need to put, and everybody, we need to now begin to call on them. If we have to do petitions, we do petitions. If we have to do online petitions, we do online petitions. We have to put pressure on these people. It can't just be talk, and then we now maintain a position and say, oh, if there's no electoral reforms, we will not participate in the election. We will not participate in the election. That is what they want. So we can't leave them that option. We have to keep and put fire under their yash. We have to organize and put pressure on them. If we have to march to the gates of the National Assembly, we have to do it. At least they will not say now that it is because we want to remove Tinubu from office. They won't say that and hide behind that. We have to do what the NLC did, because this is right within their powers to do. And everybody agrees that it's the right thing to do. So what is stopping us? We are keeping quiet. We should not continue to keep quiet on these ones. All right, I'll see you next video.